Hi guys, welcome back to Irish Footy Vlogs, and this is your Irish Footy Vlogs Premier Division team of the season for 2024. And before we get into it, just remember this is my personal opinion. A lot of people's opinions are going to differ. And I thought about this the last 2 weeks. I'm only doing it now because I've really considered it and I've went through every player basically in the last few weeks and come up with a team that I felt would be the team I'd pick for 2024. This year was a little harder, I have to say, because there's a lot of arguments for a lot of players. I'd say there could be up to 10 players I didn't pick in this team that I'd have no argument if someone had in their team, to be honest with you. So this is just what I've come up with. Personally, I went with a 4-3-3 formation. I've tried to keep players in the positions that they've generally played with all season, or at least very, very close. You'll find out later what I mean. Subscribe to the channel, guys, if you haven't already. Plenty of videos that you can see that have been done recently. Keep an eye on them. I think we'll just get straight into it, will we? So the goalkeeper. I had three contenders in my head, and I'll go through the other two before I pick the one I've chosen in the end. Ed McGinty was one that I took under serious consideration. A goalkeeper that I thought made a huge difference to Sligo Rovers this season and helped them finish where they did in the league in the end, I think, as well. A lot of people might have had Sligo lowly in the table, and he was a late-ish signing, as far as I remember as well. Crucial signing for Sligo Rovers, was there before. Now, this year I think he's been peppered, to be honest with you. Unlike the other two goalkeepers I'll talk about in a minute. Defensively, I wouldn't say Sligo were as strong as these other two teams. McGinty was exposed at times. And when you're exposed, you're going to make mistakes. Probably a few more mistakes. But he made a hell of a lot of brilliant saves as well. Some of the best saves this season in the league I've seen. McGinty would be in there, to be honest with you. Particularly that one against Dundalk. But McGinty was a serious consideration for me, and I think he's had an outstanding season. The other goalkeeper I didn't go with was Conor Kearns of Shelbourne. Again, very good this season. Was level with Brendan Clark in the number of clean sheets this season. Had a very good defensive structure in front of him, I'd have to say, but was still solid, vocal in the back line, commanding presence in the box for a goalkeeper. I think that lets him down a little bit, and probably why I didn't pick him a little bit is his distribution at times. So the goalkeeper I have chosen is Brendan Clark of Galway United, and very similar to Kearns in every aspect there. But I think his ball playing ability from the back and distribution was better, to be honest. Like Kearns, fairly commanding, vocal, kept that back line together, leadership as well. And like Kearns, the same amount of clean sheets this season. Two of them kept the same amount of clean sheets this season, the highest amount of clean sheets, I should say, in the league this season. But also behind a very good defence. And that Galway defence has to be said. Just turn this off. But the reason, as I said, I just went for Clark, just about ahead of Kearns in that regard, was that I do think his ability with his feet was better. So, goalkeeper, Brendan Clark, Galway United. Right back, two contenders for me. I'll go with the one, first of all, that I didn't pick in the end, and that was Dara Power. He had an excellent season for Waterford FC. Good defensively, very, very good going forward. Excellent going forward for Waterford this season. And I would say, if it was the first half of the season, I had him ahead in this particular race. But if someone else picked Dara Power, I'd have no argument whatsoever. The player I did go for was Sean Gannon. Another league title for Sean Gannon this season. And that's kind of half what edged it as well, because he really achieved something, if you like, in terms of winning a league title. His 11th of his career. Looked like a player that was probably past his best in the last couple of years at Shamrock Rovers, but has come in as Shelbourne. And in many ways, a lot of people might say roll back the years. Defensively, very, very strong. I think the structure of Shelbourne has helped him and suited him as well. And he's just got a renewed confidence, really, this season. He has given him an outlet on the right as well. Okay, he's not doing what he done maybe 4 or 5 years ago when he was bombing down the line for Dundalk. He's not that you wouldn't have those levels, let's say, of mobility and stamina now. but he's been very good this season, and he's in my team of the season at right back. Sean Gannon Shelburne. Now, at left back, for me, there was only really one contender for this in the end when I looked at everything, and that's Josh Hoonahan, the Shamrock Rovers. He's played in a number of positions for them this season. On the right wing back slot, centre back filled in at times, and left wing back slot. So for me, he gets in at left back. Probably played his best football when he was in that position as well, strangely enough, when he's right footed. But really, really good at getting forward, mobile, extremely mobile. Doesn't seem that quick, but he is reasonably quick. He's not lightning, but he's reasonably quick. Offered something from an attacking point of view for Shamrock Rovers, no matter where he played in terms of being right wing back or left wing back. Really offered goals at times and deliveries into the box, and probably surprised me in that way. Defensively good, as I expected. He was defensively quite good at Cork City. But for me, Josh Hoonahan, Shamrock Rovers, left back. Two centre backs now. In the end, it was probably an easy enough choice for both. No surprise that I'm going to name Paddy Barrett as one of them. He was my player of the year, full stop. I did a player of the year video on Paddy Barrett. I gave him the 2024 player of the year. But for me, yeah, he's in the team. Paddy Barrett, Shelburne. Just really good this season. Excellent leadership abilities. Knitted that Shelburne defence together. Helped knit it together with other players, particularly Conor Kearns and Gavin Malloy in that first part of the season. But, you know, all this defensive work was very good, etc. But the thing that stood out for me really was his playmaking abilities for a centre-back at times was ridiculous. He'd pop out and become almost like a deep line playmaker at times. Good range of passing, excellent range of passing, the best in the league from a centre-half's perspective. Good diags, etc. Could play the ball forward into the feet of the striker as well, which you don't see very often for centre backs, to be honest with you. And Paddy Barrett did that brilliantly this season, and obviously won the league title. So Paddy Barrett for me. The other player I went for was Mark Connolly of Derry City. Look, it's been a disappointing season in the end for Derry City, but over the course of the season, I think Connolly has been fairly solid at the back for Derry City. Strong physically. Sometimes could get caught out for pace. Strong physically, good in the air, very good in the air defensively. And anytime a striker came up against Mark Connolly, they found it very, very difficult. So for me, Paddy Barrett, as mentioned before, and Mark Connolly of Derry City there, the two centre backs. Let me know in the comments who you go for in your goal as your goalkeeper in your back line. Midfield then, the three centre midfielders. It wasn't easy. I'm going to name the three, but I'm going to name the couple of mentions that I thought were very, very close to getting in. First of all, I'm going to go for JJ Lunny of Shelburne. I think JJ Lunny, for my money, has been the most improved player that I've personally seen in the league this year. Last year I thought he was okay. He was just okay. He was fine. He wasn't poor. He was just fine. This year, I think he's moved up a level. And to have a decent midfield, you have to have a decent midfield really if you're going to win the league in the end. And JJ Lunny was massive in that. You saw when he was missing a couple of games for Shelburne how much of a loss he was. He can take the ball from the defenders. Keeps it simple, but keeps Shelburne ticking generally in midfield, and quite good defensively in terms of positioning as well. Most of the time he knows where to be, and obviously struck up a brilliant partnership with Mark Coyle. But yeah, just got Shelburne going, I thought, in the midfield, and as I said, definitely the most improved player I've seen this season. So JJ Lunny, Shelburne's in there. The other player I have in there is Dylan Watts of Shamrock Rovers. I think Dylan has been superb this season. He's taken up the mantle really as the talisman in midfield Shamrock Rovers this season. Scoring some goals, creative, but just general midfield work, setting tempo in the middle of the park for Shamrock Rovers this season. I think he's been excellent all round for Shamrock Rovers actually this season, Dylan Watts. And for me, them two players for me actually were an easy decision to get into the midfield. So that's still in what's Shamrock Rovers. And finally, the last player I went for in midfield is Ellis Chapman, the Sligo Rovers. 9 goals from midfield this season. Sometimes played as a 10, sometimes played as an 8, etc., etc. But he's getting into my midfield. Massive fine for Sligo Rovers. They'll do well to hang on to him, there's no doubt about that. But absolutely massive fine. Had a big influence on how they attacked and how they played this season. Very good at breaking into the box. You wouldn't see him scoring many goals from, say, 25, 30 yards. He was more of a player that got on beyond the striker often, and fed on scraps in around the box and scored in that sense. So Ellis Chapman for me is in. The two that were very close, extremely close, and again, I'd have no argument if these two got in, to be honest with you. Mark Coyle of Shelbourne and Adam O'Reilly of Derry City. Just a bit. Both players have been good this season. Just about missed out. Coyle will be in a lot of teams this season. Coyle will be in a lot of people's teams this season. There's no doubt about that. But I just felt that you could easily have Coyle and Lunny in, but I just felt Watts and Chapman had to get in. So it almost became a Lunny or Coyle scenario for me personally. And I just felt that the way I came to that decision personally was, if Shells are missing Coyle for 5 games and if Shells are missing Lunny for 5 games, who's the bigger loss? And my personal opinion, Lunny would be the bigger loss. So that's why I came to that conclusion. I'm sure there's other players that people would consider as well to put in the midfield. I'm not going to go through everyone I looked at, but that's the midfield. So let me know what you think. Now out wide, I've cheated a little bit here, but I'll come to it in a minute. But on the left, I went for Will Jarvis of Shelbourne. I just think his influence in that first part of the season was too hard to ignore to leave him out. 8 goals for Shelbourne. Big reason why Shelbourne, in Shelbourne's creative play, obviously the goals I just mentioned there. And at times, when you watch him play a lot of the time, he was a joy to watch. Good dribbler, could get in behind the defence. Lovely right foot. Liked a bit of a curler. And I just felt people forget a little bit because sometimes a player's influence, particularly when they leave in the summer, they forget how big his influence was. I'm sure Shelbourne fans don't, but maybe other people do outside of Shelbourne. And I think he was, despite him going, it's not like he was, he was in form for the first half of the season. He was still at the club and lost form. He left the club. So for me, he has to get in on that left wing. He was outstanding for the time he was there and was a massive, massive factor in Shelbourne winning this league. And you'd argue if he stayed, Shelbourne probably would have won the league earlier. So Will Jarvis on the left wing for me. On the right, and this is where I'm cheating a little bit, I've gone for Johnny Kenny of Shamrock Rovers. Now, obviously played as a striker, but the way Kenny plays, you could easily have him on the right of an attack easily. And I just thought I had to get him in. He's not completely out of position here either for me. But 12 goals in the league this season. I have 15 or 16 in all competitions actually. With Gaffney out, I did think he stood up to the mark brilliantly this season for Shamrock Rovers. Not just the goals, but his movement is excellent. If you watch him play, sometimes you just watch him for 5 minutes. Arguably the best forward in the league in terms of off-the-ball movement, I would say, is Kenny. Probably learn a bit from Gaffney as well, but he was always, even at Sligo, he was like that, to be honest. So, yeah, I think he's a player who's capable of scoring more goals. It'd be interesting to see if Rovers can keep on to him for the next season, because I think he can score more goals. He's unselfish in terms of his runs and that, and often he makes decoy runs and creates space for others. Very, very clever if you watch him play. And I just think he's been excellent, simply, for Shamrock Rovers this season. Absolutely brilliant. So for me, Kenny gets in that position. A player now that was very unlucky not to get in and was very close and could easily be in everyone else's team, and I have no issue if he was there, is Brandon Kavanagh for Pats. 14 assists this season in the league, the highest assists in the league, and he's been, especially that second half of the season, he's been excellent. I think at the beginning, this is what kind of held me back a little bit with him. He was in and out under John Daly, and John Daly, generally had him on the right. He's far better as a number 10, far better as a number 10, and quite a few of his assists in the first half of the season were from set pieces as well. But the second half of the season became more creative and open play. But if he was more generally like that, throughout the whole season, I definitely would have had him in. He could easily be in your team, though, Brandon Kavanagh, honestly. So he just about missed out. Up front now. Now, I thought of this, and obviously I thought about Kenny, Hooban, and Amond, but Kenny could easily play in that position. Hooban and Amond, no. So I had to come with one choice here. And for me, when I thought about it, it was Podge Amond that I went for. I just think his influence on Waterford was a bit higher than the influence ultimately that Hooban had at Derry. Both finishing up as top scorer in the league. But Amon coming in at the age of 36 as well. And what he's offered to the team, apart from the goals, I think he probably can stretch defences a little bit better than Hooban can, if I'm honest, at this stage. And to do that at 36, the influence he had at Waterford was absolutely huge. It's no point even talking about the goals because, you know what I mean, the same with Hooban. They both scored 14 goals in the league this season. But it's just those extra little bits, I think, that edges it for me with Podge Hammond. And for me, yeah, Podge Hammond's in the team. So go through the team again. Again, let me know what you think in the comments. A few honourable mentions, players you'd have in the team. And there's other players that could have easily got in as well. But again, it's my personal opinion. So in goal, Brendan Clark, Galway United. Right back, Sean Gannon, Shelburne. Left back, Josh Hoonahan, Shamrock Rovers. Centre back, Paddy Barrett, Shelburne. Centre back, Mark Connolly, Derry City. In the middle of the park, centre midfield, JJ Lunny, Shelburne. Dylan Watts, Shamrock Rovers. Ellis Chapman, Sligo Rovers. On the left, Will Jarvis, Shelburne. On the right, Johnny Kenny of Shamrock Rovers. And up front, Podge Amond of Waterford FC. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't before, guys. That would be fantastic. Hit your bell notification button as well. That keeps you up to date with the videos, incidentally. And give us your team. Why not? Thanks for watching.